What's good, YouTube? Wayne from Twin Cousins Reptiles, and me and my boy from Bruno's Exotics are making a video on Repti collab on leopard geckos versus crested geckos. Two great beginner reptiles to get you into the hobby. They get a lot of people interested in reptiles, and we're going to be making a video discussing the benefits of both and why both of them make excellent choices as first reptiles. And we're going to let you guys, as an audience, decide for yourself what one you guys think is a better beginner reptile, or the better beginner reptile for you. Now, one good upside that leopard geckos have, the crested geckos actually also have as well. As you can see, I don't have any special lighting for my leopard geckos, and that's because they really don't generally need it. Leopard geckos are nocturnal or crespiternal, depending on who you ask, and they really don't need all too much of lighting. A lot of animals would need a basking spot or UVB. Leopard geckos really don't need that. They're nocturnal in the wild, so they really don't. They like the dark. And as long as you do use a little bit calcium with a little bit of D3 in it, you can usually, that's pretty much all the vitamins from the sun that they really need. So one benefit for leopard geckos, no special lighting needed.
Alright, so with crested geckos, you also do not need any UVB lighting, which, as you can see right here, their food actually does have vitamin D3 in it, calcium, really good. But since I do have a female and she's a breeding female, I do sneak in some calcium in her diet as well, just to give her some extra calcium. But yeah, crested geckos are really easy in that fact that they don't need any lighting either. And I don't even have like an LED on because they're right next to my other reptiles that do need somewhat lighting. So yeah, it's pretty bright here for them, and once the lights go off here, then it's nighttime for them to come out. So yeah.
Now for leopard geckos, you're going to want to use a good substrate. Since they do spend a lot more time on the ground than something like a crested gecko will, you're going to want to make sure you have a good substrate so they are comfortable and healthy. Now, the substrate I use the most is paper towel. It's easy to clean, and it's easy to clean up any waste. You can see the waste really easily on paper towels. The one thing about paper towels, the negative side of it, it's not the most attractive, and it definitely doesn't look natural. Now, another one that a lot of people like to use is Repti carpet. It's basically just a piece of felt, basically, that you put on the bottom of your tank, and it does work okay. You just have to clean them out. I would caution you if using these with hatchlings. A lot of people say that the hatchlings, their babies, their feet will get stuck to these. I've never really seen it happen all too much back when I did use Repti carpet, but I would caution you because a lot of people say it's not always the best, but you could definitely use it for an adult. And a third good alternative, I have a whole bucket of it sitting here, and that is Eco Earth. And it's basically this really kind of like a dirt substrate that you put them into these buckets, or you can buy them pre-made. It's basically just a dirt substrate that you can use. You don't want to get too humid for leopard geckos, but it does work pretty well for them. And Eco Earth, it works really well in their humid hides too. So those are some substrates for leopard geckos.
Alright, so for crested geckos, substrate is somewhat important, but it's not like a huge of a deal as it is for like leopard geckos. But what you basically want is something that will hold moisture. So here I have some paper towels that is not damp, but just holds in the moisture from when I spray. And I have a Eco Earth mix with sand. This is like a bioactive mix that also has that bioactive tank right there. It's the same thing, but it's just in here. I would like to put everything just dirt for them, but I don't have to be digging through the whole tank trying to look for eggs. As I said, I am breeding them, so I do need something smaller, but what you mainly want is something that will hold moisture, because they really need it. They need it very humid, unlike leopard geckos. Sphagnum moss, paper towels would work, especially good for quarantining them. But Eco Earth, sphagnum moss, anything that would hold moisture would work really good for these guys.
Now for leopard geckos, if you don't like insects, might not be the best choice for you. But leopard geckos, their primary diet are the creepy crawlies. The main food sources I use personally for my leopard geckos, mealworms and crickets. Mealworms, they work really well as a main diet. The main thing, some people say that if you use too many mealworms, it can cause a buildup of gelatin. I like to do that, a mixture of crickets and mealworms, just so it doesn't. But mealworms work really well. Dubia work really well. Crickets, as well as some people use silkworms, grasshoppers, as well as some people will use superworms. Superworms are a little big for them sometimes. You can use them for really large leopard geckos or giants. But another last thing you could use, waxworms. Waxworms work pretty okay. The only thing is you don't want to feed them too much or your leopard geckos can get addicted to them. But yeah, for leopard geckos, their main diet, they're carnivores. They like the little creepy crawlies.
Alright, with crested geckos, very easy. You just really need Repashy. If you have just like one male crested gecko that you're keeping it as a pet and not doing anything, you could get away with just feeding it Repashy or some type of food powder that you mix in 1 part powder, 2 parts water, and it looks like this. But I do give my geckos crickets weekly. I throw a few in, like 10-ish, so they can hunt them, and adjust them with the D3 so that way they are nice and healthy.
Now, whether you're a beginner or an old champ, leopard geckos are a really easy animal to handle. General autonomy of the animal, they have their head, their body, and their tail. Now, their heads you don't want to poke or pick at too much, as you really wouldn't want anyone poking or picking at your face too much. Their tails, for the most part, they can actually drop their tails, so you do want to be pretty gentle around them. Never pick them up by the tail unless you really know what you're doing. Some breeders will do that just because it is a little bit easier. But if you are a beginner, I definitely don't recommend picking them up by the tail. The best way to pick them up, either come kind of from the rib middle section, kind of pick them up. And some geckos are a little more skittish. You might want to put your hand in front of you and kind of coax them on your hand to pick them up. But yeah, they're really docile, just like this girl here. They'll kind of, if you just put them on you, kind of just walk right all over you. Just climb on your shirt, climb all over you. And yeah, leopard geckos are a really easy animal to handle. Where are you going?
Alright, so crested geckos, just like leopard geckos, are very easy to handle. She's just climbing up on me. They can drop their tails, however, so I would not suggest getting them by the tail. And once they do drop their tails, they're frog butt for life. And, I mean, yeah, pretty much. They're really nice babies, however, they do jump quite a bit, and they're more scared of humans because they're prey to more animals. At least that's their mindset. Overall, they do come down quite a lot, and as you can see, they'll just chill on you and be willing to just hang out with you. And yeah, just don't grab them by the tail, and they don't regrow it back. However, though, sometimes they just drop it, like it happened to her. She just dropped it for no reason. I wasn't even there. It was during the night, so yeah.
One of the cool things about leopard geckos are there's so many different morphs and patterns you can get into. And this applies to many different reptile species. But in here just alone I have albinos, melanistics, exantics, which my Max know here. There's so many different morphs and patterns you can get into. And the genetics on some of the animals are just crazy. So yeah, so many different morphs and patterns in leopard geckos.
Alright, so with crested geckos, there's not a ton of morphs out there. There's still quite a few, and that still makes them a very interesting reptile to own. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Check out my channel and Waya's channel, and I'll see you all in the next one. Hope you enjoyed.